Hello and welcome to My Lighting for Animators. Today we are going to take a look at spotlights, and then we are going to look at something called a gobo or a cookie. Um, and while we do that, we are going to work on this scene to make it more inviting to what the little girl's doing here. So, let's start, shall we? Okay, so let's talk about what a gobo is first. Most of us know what a spotlight is. Here's a spotlight. These are barn doors, by the way. That's going to come up a little later. All right, so what a gobo is, or a cookie. They're called cookies or gobos. If you're going to do internet searches, do it on gobo, because cookies just, you get the food too much. So there are these little templates that they put in front of spotlights, and what that does is that casts an image onto your set that makes it look like something other than a spotlight is casting it. For instance, here in this warehouse, there's probably just a spotlight there with one of these guys on it that makes it look like a massive window, right? And we get to see here we have some gobos with it looks like there's like a tree that's casting this nice little shape, and you'll see a lot of this because they want to shoot with, like, say they want everything, like, I don't know, if you look at a friggin' Michael Bay movie, like every shot is like golden hour, dusk or dawn, right? There's always got that gold in there. So, if you're shooting in the middle of the day or 3 in the morning, you still want to make it look like it's, a nice romantic sunset coming on. You just grab one of them tungsten lights and you throw this guy in front of it, and it'll make it look like it's whatever, right? Same thing here. We can get a nice little underwater effect going on. So let's first take a look at a spotlight. So I am just going to, let's see if we can grab a nice little camera that's a little wider shot. Here I got my trusty light editor up, like always. We don't necessarily want this guy in the background right now, I think we might kill him. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to disable it, turn it off, and then I'm going to come and I'm going to go to create, and we're going to go lights, and then we're going to go spotlight. And notice that this is a Maya light. This is not an Arnold light, this is a Maya light. Alright, so right now my R doesn't work. I don't know why my R is not working when something about this setup is really weird. Alright, so we've got a spotlight in place here. And let me just take this like this, and we're going to bring it up, point it down at the floor. And let's see, what is perspective shape 2? Or do you looking better? So I can move my screen around. Okay, there we go. Just as long as I got enough of the floor here to see what we're doing. Alright, so when we start off with a light, first thing we always want to do is we want to take that light and we want to crank it up to make sure that the freaking thing is working, so we don't sit here and intensity, no. Alright, so when using the Arnold renderer, you're going to come down to the Arnold tab here, where I have a redshift tab too, and I'm sure V-Ray has a V-Ray tab. I'm not too certain though. Okay, so I'm just going to crank this open, and here's our exposure. Right, and again, this is just the preferred method. So I'm going to do 25. Big. Bam, there it is. Okay, so I know it's working. So now I can just dial it in a little bit. There we go. Alright, so we've got a basic light going on here. So let's come up to these settings. So, color, we can adjust the color. Color the light. Give it, red, blue, yellow, boom, green, whatever. We're going to give it a white for now. Cone angle, that's talking about the width of the cone, right? Pretty simple, pretty simple. Illuminate by default, emit diffuse and emit specular. The illuminate by default, this is ignored in Arnold, I believe, and you have to use the connection editor, and or so the light connection editor. That's not what it's called. The light thing. Light linking. All right, which is not being covered right now. And then emit diffuse and emit specular. That's down here. If you want no diffuse, we're just going to turn it off like that, right? Same thing with specular. You just turn it off there, as well as SS and indirect, right? If I turn off that indirect, right, we got no bounce light. Now, we've gone over through this in other videos, so I'm not going to nail on those guys right there. Okay, penumbra angle. So basically, from the border, it's going to be pixels that gradiate in for negative and out for positive. You see that nice little gradation there? It makes it look a little more realistic, and it's like a sort of a free little lighting thing. All right, but for what we're using it for right now, we don't need that because we're going to be blasting this through that window. Drop off is like coming again from that border, and this gets a little more serious to give you more of a pinpoint light. Not too sure why you would use cone angle and penumbra, but you know, to each their own. The kind of curve on the gradient seems a little different, maybe a little more focused or something like that. But there you go. There's the drop off. Okay, so here, instead of coloring that light, I'm going to use the color temperature, and what I want to do is I want to emulate the sun coming in. So let's find out what the temperature of the sun is. Guess what? Hot, right? Am I right? And we can actually, there we go, light temperature, and 4800 K direct sunlight. And that's where we're not going for. We're not shooting on my gobo film here. I'm going for like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Nice warm sunlight. Nice summery day. Okay, so I'm gonna hit that color temperature, and then we're gonna punch that to 4800. And this is a starting point. This doesn't mean we're gonna be stuck at 4800. Just means this is our starting point. Okay, so we can keep going down. Exposure, again, that's just dealing with the intensity of the light. Difference between intensity and exposure is they're doing the same thing. Exposure is just using exposure that you would see in a camera, so a lot of lighter speak camera. Samples is actually, let's just start moving this over her head here. Come forward a little bit. Okay, and let's just zoom up master shot here. Or actually, you know what? I'm gonna just grab this perspective shape that I got here, and I'm gonna use that so we can see a little bit more of a top down going on. Okay, so let's talk about the samples. Samples is more about has more effect in the fringing area of where the shadow happens and that softness. It doesn't really affect the bounce noise. There's a lot of noise going on, but again, we're using our good old buddy optics denoiser to get through this. Otherwise, we'd be sitting here forever. Yeah. The beauty, like if I up these samples, the shadow happening in here and then that bounce isn't really going to change much, but the shadows along the edges is. But as you notice, there's no soft edges here, and we don't like that, because if you want to make something look really 3D, just use ray trace shadows with no softness on them. No softness on your edges, that's just going to give it away. And that right here is what the radius is. So radius, what I'm gonna do usually when I grab something, right, I can, well, let's go to maximum right away, and let's see what that did, right? turn on that denoiser. All right, you see how soft that got? So now I can just come down like this and bring it. Now it's all about what kind of light that you have, right? So every light has a radius to it, pretty much. There's no pinpoint lights because that doesn't make sense. You can't get that much energy from a pin, right? Except the sun is almost a pinpoint light, right? Because it gives you pretty hard shadows. So we do want hard shadows. We just want to soften them. We want to soften them in these edges, right? So I can right now, I'm gonna leave the samples. Maybe I can push it up to 2 or something like that. When we increase the samples, we increase the render time. I don't need to be super clean right now because what we're doing is we're just establishing, and don't bog down in crazy render stuff right away, right? You don't crank up all the settings, right? That's why we're using the denoisers, because we want to be fast. So I'm going to be sitting here. Let's give me a nicer number, 2.5. Now, normalize. In other videos we've done it before, and that's just the intensity based off the size of the object, right? The you know, that area light where if it's a little square and we turn on normalize and then we make it big, and then that light gets a lot more intense, right? And if we leave normalize off, doesn't matter. Scale of the object doesn't matter. Cast shadows. Do you want it to cast shadows? Yes or no? Pretty self-evident. Shadow density. You got to be really careful about when you're doing something like this, because you really start to make things look fake, right? Especially when it's such a key lighting element. If it's not a key lighting element, then you can get away with it a little bit more. But if it's a key lighting element like this spotlight right now, there's I don't know if you really can get away with it. If you can, comment in the whatchamacallit, the doobly-doo. No, wait, the doobly-doo was that thing, but I don't know. Comment in the comment section. There you go. All right, so aspect ratio. That one's pretty cool. And all that's going to do is it's going to squeeze this, right? And it's going to kind of squeeze it like barn doors will squeeze. Except the barn door is going to give you more of a cubic shape, whereas this is just a little squashy shape. Lens radius. Now what that is I'm not 100% sure, but I think it fakes sort of a lens on it, and it helps get away. You see how hot this is right here on the top, and it's not as hot down here. And if I take this lens radius and let's just take that, there we go. When you dock this, I don't know, you always have to resize that window when you dock. Okay, so if I take this lens radius now and I punch to 1, see how it sort of extends that, but it also starts diluting that hotness there. Because I know if I go to a 10, well, I don't know if I go to 10, but there you go. See how that really sort of takes off that hotness, and it's giving us a little bit more softness here. There's some other sort of effects going on. I'm not 100% sure on that one though. Again, I use redshift like a lot. Don't really use this one as much, but it doesn't matter when you're lighting. This stuff is kind of the arbitrary stuff. Lighting is more about putting the lighting where it is. And if you're using V-Ray, redshift, octane, you know, whatever, it doesn't matter. This is all like all of it's using the same talking points, the same settings and stuff like that, right? Like everything kind of really means the same. So yeah, it doesn't really matter that much. All right, so we've gone through this already. Diffuse, specular here. If I turn off, well, yeah, if you turn off diffuse, so this is only going to give us highlights. So you see that highlight on our hair there. Doesn't really make sense. This indirect, now I have no bounce light from it. Again, we've gone over through this in the other videos, probably the second video. So yeah. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of these filters here. We're going to look at barn door really quick. We're not going to really get into it hard because it's really self-explanatory. So that barn door, remember we started the beginning of the video and I said, hey, remember this because we're going to look at it again. These barn doors, so basically what happens is they are going to lower these, and that is going to focus the beam more. So you can get like a half circle or something like that, right? You can sort of get fake things that aren't actually there. So here, if I take this top left and bring it down, you see how it's starting to cut across. Top right, if I match it, now we're getting that cut on that circle. So if I go left top, oh, we can't see it. Right top, right edge. Oh, let's bring this one down. There we go. So now I can cut it in here. All right, so kind of explanatory. This edge here, this top edge, what that's referring to is the smoothness. It's gonna smooth that away, because again, we don't want these tight, solid shadows because they look very unnatural. You want a nice little edge like that, something that just has a little bit of fall off, because this is gonna look really 3D, really harsh 3D. So I'm gonna just grab this little edge too. Just play it there. So that's about all there is to that guy. So I'm just going to disconnect this guy. So this is what we really want here is this gobo. So I'm going to grab the gobo. I'm going to back up. I'm going to save because we're going to bring in an image, and actually I'm going to save, and then I'm probably going to stop the render here. Alright, so I'm going to go into the gobo, and I'm going to grab one of those slide maps. Now I downloaded that one of those textures, and it's this guy right here. Where are you? Background trees? Nope, tree gobo right there. See, nice little circle with the thing in it. Alright, it's going to be raw, black and white. Alright, so let's hit play. There we go. There's our tree getting cast down. Right now it just casts straight too, so it's not going to conform to her hair like a texture or anything like that. Now the select our light again, go to our gobo. So let's start off with the scale. So scale, let's go to 2 and then 2. So now you see we got a little small one, and then we can repeat it by wrap. So we can do like a periodic wrap here. So let's just repeating that. Let's say go to 4 so we can see it a little bit better. Now this doesn't really make sense for one like this because this is really obvious, but say it was an entire square rather than a circle, then this would repeat quite well. Black, now it's just going to black the edges. Clamp is what the default is. Actually, let's just throw it to clamp, and it gives you this. It's streaking that edge. These pixels are touching the edge, and then black pixels, and then it's going off with that, I believe. And then mirror is just creates a mirrored version of this one, right? And then mirrors it. So and that's what mirror does. Not anything too crazy. Let's just throw this back to clamp. Okay, so another thing with the scale is we can instead of going repeating it like that, we can actually overscale it like this. So I'm gonna go 0.7. So now you see, because I don't really care about this part. I kind of want more just these leaves. So maybe if I go to something like a 0.6. So now I know that because it's coming from the center, there's probably a lot more leaves up here. So now I can just use this offset. I can just travel along this offset to give me more leaves. There we go. Now I can play with that offset later too to help me even further with these leaves, to make sure that I get a nice little light spot right here on where she's going, because this is kind of the focus for her, so she would want that in the light, right? So if we talk about these, the density, this is just kind of the effect that it's going to have on a light, right? So it's this kind of blend. So if it's too much, I've pretty much turned the light off. It's taking those white values and drop them. So then we get a replace. Now the replace, should be, I think it deals with the existing light that's in the scene, but I don't see the cookie coming back, so I'm not too sure what's going on with that replace. Add, this is an additive. These ones, oh, you know what, let me just do a quick update here. Update full scene. Oh, actually, I think that's not going to make a difference, come to think of it. It might just be that my light coming in is too weak, because these ones need an existing light to have an effect with. So maybe if let's update this scene here. Alright, let's just play with this ad for a sec. Yeah, it's not doing anything. Let's grab this and let's just grab a stronger light, which is our backlight over here. And let's just take our spotlight over to this light and see what kind of things can happen here. Alright, so let's try this ad again. Let's subtract and mix. Okay, mix is mixing with the current lights. Now the subtract is actually supposed to subtract that light from the other light, and add is supposed to add it. I'm not too sure why it's not doing that right now. We can try it a little later, I guess, but it's kind of weird. All right, again, not the one I really use as much. So now if I punch to blend here, all right, we got that cookie going on. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is, now that we've gone through the light, I'm gonna take this guy and I'm gonna bring it outside the house. And I'm going to focus it here, pull it back. Of course, another thing I could do is just use the viewport and look through selected. Okay, so I'm going to select this light here, and we are going to increase the exposure of it. Arnold exposure, because it's the sun, it's going to be nice and bright. Now the thing here is, I have another sun coming in this shot from this 360 that I took by my apartment here, so I don't really want to compete with that sun, right? I still want that sort of that greenness to come into the environment, because we're trying to get the trees and stuff like that. But this is not a good image to work with anymore, just because I have a sun in the thing. So I'm going to go hunting for another 360. So So we're going to go to maps. And there's a cave one. Cave entry in the forest. Let's use that. I'm going to use the TX version so I don't have to sit here and wait for this conversion to happen. Alright. So now we have that. It looks a little dark, but that's because I had cranked these down. More or less just to... Actually, we shouldn't be using this for our background photo anyway. So I want the green side. So I'm going to just to bring this green over. I don't really need to know what the inside looks like right now because I know it's doing what I want it to do. So let's grab perspective shape 2. And we're just going to take that sky down. We're going to isolate it. So now I want to get some of that green in here. And I'm going to take this exposure and I'm going to pump it up. Okay, my spotlight kind of weirded out on me there. So if I just adjust my spotlight, it will come back. It should come back. There we go. There's that spotlight. Alright, let's do a quick look through it. Look through selected. Ooh. Yeah. Alright, let me focus on that. This one, this is messed up here. I got the view is not what I want right now. So let's go back to perspective 1. Okay, let's back this up here. Bring this down. Alright, so that light is coming in. Let's get it, again, we want it more to come down. Something like this. And I'm actually going to look outside because I want to see what the I want to see what that pattern looks like there, because we might need to adjust that pattern. And I think we do need to adjust that pattern. So here, actually, it's pretty close, but let's just grab that gobo here and let's just play with these offsets a little. Oops, I said a little, not a lot. There we go. So now I'm getting that light coming through. Now I'm not really, I kind of want to, if I can't see that her piece of paper, neither can this light. So I'm just going to bring this light up. And let's see if we can fix the light so I can just look through it instead. So panel, look through selected. There we go. So now I'm going to go like this. Come on, you. Give me the right friggin' camera shape here. Oh, actually, it doesn't really matter. I can just come to that master shot shape here. See what's going on. Okay, so, here we go. So it's landing where I'm at. I kind of feel like there's not enough brightness right now, and also I'm kind of missing I kind of want that light just to highlight her thing here. So I'm going to take the scale of this and I'm going to lower it a little bit, so 0.4, so I can get bigger sunspots. And actually, I might have been with. See if this is going to work now. Seem to remember I could get a little bit more this mix. Yeah, okay, let's try blend. Let's maybe back this up a bit. And I'm going to go to the light. Select that light. I can focus that cone angle, because I don't need really to light anything else. And I'm going to go to the exposure, and I'm going to punch up this exposure. Intensity's at 1. Alright, let's take a look at the room. See, so now we're starting to get that nice little look, and we're getting some green bounce from that. Now it's just about kind of finding the finding what's going to work here, finding the angle for it. And the cookie I'm using might not be the best cookie, and I think my my lights here are my curtains can be a little less transparent. I just put in a simple thin-walled and then opacity, because you know, stand-in curtains. There we go. So now I'm lighting up this area now, coming through here. I'm gonna take that that backlight that we have, and I'm actually gonna turn that off. That bulb. Okay, so what are the problems with using this 360? So the biggest problem with using this 360, let's just turn this off for a sec, the HDRI, is I find the HDRIs are really noisy. And what I kind of want to do here is we're going to do something a little bit different. Maybe grab that spotlight. Well, actually, you know what? We're okay right now. That spotlight. Maybe that exposure is a little hot, so let's bring down that exposure. Or something like that. And then what I'm going to do is I want a little more, I want to have it feel like more of an impact from sun. So I'm going to take this indirect and I'm going to bounce it. I'm going to double it, and what that's going to do is it's going to give me more bounce light, so it's going to make it feel like, you know, it's brighter than it actually is. So I'm getting that nice little dappling in that this one over here. Not so much on this one, but I can just kind of play with the gobo and sort of position it, play with scale and stuff like that, and see if I can find, like, maybe I went a little too small with it or something like that. So let's come, like, maybe let's try 0.8. Let's see what something happens here. See, so now we definitely have a little bit better of a sense of what's going on. That density actually affects the light. So replace I'm looking for. Replace is replacing that light that's in there. So the replace does add. It's doing nothing. Subtraction is doing nothing right now. So I'll still play with those guys to try to get them to work. Alright, so here maybe 2.7. So I don't want to, this is where people get really bored and glazed over and stuff like that. So quickly what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, well, here's the shot. So let's go, let's look at the perspective here. Let's go perspective, not 1, but 2. And we have a feel of the room. So I'm just going to turn on this sky. Did it over here. Let's turn on the denoiser. Okay, so this is one thing, right? So I got, you know, got some green stuff outside. I really need to replace this with an image plane. I kind of like, I want more green in there. I want it to feel a little more warm too. So let's just stamp this. Now what we can do is we can actually go to this sky dome, right? And I'm going to use this the photo right now just as a little placeholder. So I'm going to drop this exposure down to 0. So I got some tree out there looking like it's a tree, right? But here what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the diffuse and I'm going to put it to 0, specular to 0, max bounce to 0, indirect to 0. So right now this light has absolutely no effect on the scene, except that it's showing through the window and showing through that little camera part right there, right? So there's no lighting information coming on. For instance, if I grab this and I isolate it, the scene should be black except for the window. Oh, and that guy, because we had him glowing. So let me turn that back on. Or gosh, that spotlight, something gets, there we go. You have to just jostle that spotlight when something else goes on. I think that's just a bug in Arnold right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take an area light. So I'm going to go Arnold Lights, area light. And let's take this guy, go big. Gonna take off normalize. See, because it's so big, I don't really have to take that exposure and drive it up, right? And I'm actually gonna make it bigger. And I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna isolate it again. So I'm going to call this AI Sky. And I'm just going to isolate this. And I'm going to look through it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to... Where's my window? Where'd my window go? There's my window. So I'm picturing that the trees are kind of like extending about here. So I'm going to come up to about here because the trees are going to sort of block the light from the sky. And I'm going to come to this exposure right now, and now I'm going to drive it up. So I'm going to go 20 just to see if I can get it in here, how much I'm going to light it up, and I'm going to bring it down. Now, if we go to our color temperatures, color temperatures, here we go. We see that blue sky is 10,000. So let's come back over here. And we're going to go, I'm going to use my color temperature again, and I'm going to go to 10,000. So now I got a nice little blue softness coming in here. And you know, I can bring it down a little more, and the more I bring it in, the more it's going to creep. But I don't want it into the entire bedroom. I just want it to feel like it's coming from here, because down below that blueness is going to get cut off a bit. Now, the bigger I make that sky, the more blue can come into that area. Okay, so I've got that done. So now I'm going to, I think it was perspective 1. That's my, see, so if I make this bigger, this little edge should start extending into the room. See? And if I make it lower, and I don't want it to extend that much, I just want it kind of get that blue. Alright, so now I'm going to take, I'm going to duplicate this guy and bring him down. I do have it isolates on, so let me just turn him on that way. Alright, so I'm going to bring this guy down. Now I'm going to take him and I'm going to push him back. Now he's got that green that's bouncing from the trees that are around, and the source of that light is coming well from the bottom, because she's on the second floor, and from like almost straight across, right? So I'm going to do something like this right here. I'm going to go like this, I'm going to go like that. So now that's filling the room. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use color temperature. I'm actually going to use color. I'm going to drive it towards that green. So I'm going to get sort of a nice green fill coming in here. But now I'm just going to bring this exposure down. It's a little too much. But now we got that sort of green feel coming in. Adjust this a bit. So you get that green in the these things. All right, curtains. I got the green in the curtains, right? So I got that coming in now. So that's kind of nice, right? And so okay, now let's come in and let's grab our spotlight and let's turn that on. And again, it's not working, so what we need to do is just grab a value in here and just punch it a bit, and then it'll turn it on. That's clearly a bug. So now what's happened is I've gotten this nice sort of feel of the green bounce light from outside, and also gotten some skylight from up top, right? And I think I might grab that and turn this down. Right, and okay, so let's go to our shot now. So we got some tree pictures in the back. Yeah, sky dome. Let me just turn you a bit. Maybe it was good where it was. Something like that. Right, so now I've kind of really warmed this up, right? So again, this was a starting thing, so I think I just might warm this up a little more. So I'm going to take that 4800, and I'm going to come down a bit. Give it a little more orange. And I think I'm going to take this green guy and I'm going to give this a little more. A little more exposure. And even I can take that blue maybe punch that up a little bit more too, to bring more intensity into the shot. So let's try 5.5. There you go. So now it's a little cleaner, and actually it renders faster. I think it's just how the information works or whatever. I'm not too sure, but before I was getting a little faster renders when I was trying it this time, and I have a nice sort of nice change up of color and stuff like that. If I wanted to go for fall, then I could shoot some maybe some red in here. I'd like make it smaller, maybe add another little bit of dapple pattern behind it or something like that. But that's basically that's a good start for the background of the character. Now I would need to light this character. I would need to light her more. Actually, it's kind of cool with that little green. But I would actually come in with a light that's the same color as this sunlight, and I would just come across her face a bit and extend this highlight that's going over her. And I think I would move that that dappling a little bit, and maybe adjust it just a little bit more. But that's probably the extent I would go to on that shot, like so, right? So there you go. So that is the spotlight, and how to use AI gobo, and then maybe some fill lights for some additional things too. So thank you very much for watching my video.